Let's graph some logarithmic functions that have horizontal shifts going on. So as we try to graph our log base 3 of the quantity x minus 2, what we're going to do first is we're going to graph log base 3 of x and then move that using this transformation. So let's first identify a few key points on log base 3 of x's graph. And as we look at all of these logarithmic graphs, it's going to be 1, 0 is one of our key points. And I'll list these out as we go. And then the base, comma, 1. So in our case, the base is 3, so that's going to be 3, comma, 1 as a second key point. All of these logarithmic functions have a vertical asymptote starting out at the y-axis. So we're going to get very close to the y-axis, but never quite get there. And then it kind of shoots off to the right-hand side. So now what we want to do is we want to use this parent graph, and we're going to move it around basically using transformations. By attaching this number in directly to x, that's going to be a horizontal shift. So in this case, this is going to be a shift. It's counterintuitive, so it's going to move everything to the right 2 units. So as we're trying to graph this, I'm going to pick up our vertical asymptote as well as these 2 key points and move everything to the right 2 units. So as we're thinking about how this is going to be done, first of all, our vertical asymptote, it was at x equals 0 at the y-axis, so it's going to get picked up and moved to the right 2 units. So you'll set it back down at positive 2. And I'm going to indicate that with a dashed line now that it's moved off of the axis. Next, our key points. We had a key point at 1, 0. That's going to get picked up and moved 2 units to the right-hand side. So it's going to land here at 3, 0. I'm going to kind of keep track of that as we go. So that one's going to be at 3, 0 as I label it. Our other key point was at 3, 1. It too is going to get picked up and moved to the right 2 units. So that's going to land at 5, 1. Everything else gets picked up and moved to the right as well. So hopefully this graph looks identical to the one on the left-hand side, just picked up, moved to the right 2 units, and set back down. Next, the domain. Well, we have a couple of ways we could find the domain. We could just look at the graph. Since we have done the work and graphed this, it's going to be everything to the right of 2. So you can say from 2 to infinity is going to be our domain. We're not going to include the 2 because we have a vertical asymptote at x equals 2. So you're not going to have a point on that vertical asymptote. Now the range here, and the range for all logarithmic functions, is going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity. So that takes care of the first one. Next, let's see if we can graph log base 3 of x plus 4. So again, in working this problem, I would start by identifying our key points of this parent function, the log base 3 of x graph. And then let's think about moving those around. In this case, we are adding 4 directly to x. So whenever you add a number or subtract a number directly from x, it'll be a horizontal movement. It kind of works the opposite direction we think it should. It's counterintuitive. So we would move everything to the left 4 units based on that plus 4. So the first thing I'm going to move is our vertical asymptote that was at the y-axis. It's going to move to the left 4. So it's going to be a negative 4. Again, indicating this with a vertical dash line because it's off the axis. We had these 2 key points to track around as well. We had one that was at 1, 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to end up over here at negative 3, 0. And then our other key point was at 3, 1. It's going to move to the left 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be at negative 1, 1. The rest of the graph should also be picked up and moved to the left. And we're only focused on those 2 key points. Everything else should come along and look basically the same as our original function and track around just like that. You really do just need the 2 key points when it comes down to if you're doing online homework with this and need to click on one, then click on the next, as long as you're on the tool that looks like a logarithmic function. Now, as far as the domain goes, we know that we get very close to this vertical asymptote, but it's to the right of that vertical asymptote. So we can say that goes from negative 4 to infinity. Leave out the negative 4 because that's where our vertical asymptote is with the equation x equals negative 4. And then the range for all of these is going to be the same. It's going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity, but we can never get all the way to negative or positive infinity, thus the open brackets. All right, hope this helps out as we're trying to graph logarithmic functions with horizontal transformations. Good luck.